They're all interactive. What happens in politics affects what happens in economics. What happens in economics affects what happens in education. What happens in education affects what happens in sex. What happens in sex affects what happens in religion, and so on and so on. They're all interactive. These are just labels for what we might call categories of people activity.
Okay.
But people activity is all interactive. Everything affects everything else. What one person does in one thing will affect some other person in something else, or in that thing itself, in that area, and so on and so on. So the white supremacists, when they took over the affairs of all of the non-white people on the planet, they said, we're not going to leave them any decision-making on their own, except the sort of trivial stuff that'll mostly be destructive.
Yes,
anything destructive, self-destructive that they do among themselves, that's all a part of the package anyway.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you can eat all the artificial food that you can eat, whatnot. You can carry a gun as long as you know who to shoot, who not to shoot.
Yes, sir.
And all like that. And that you can be defiant. I mean, and they even entertain us with entertainment. Usually they lean toward making movies and writing books that glorify all the different ways that black people particularly can harm each other.
This is true. Yes, sir.
You're not going to sit down and see a movie or a TV presentation, most likely, that when you walk out, you're going to have that buoyant feeling of, oh, this makes me this inspires me to really do something that's really constructive. I mean, that's over-the-top constructive, almost out-of-sight constructive. This is the way we need to be feeling when we walk away from any TV program or any movie that's made, particularly those that are directed toward non-white people.
But when you
I'm saying always look at how people act. Mm-hmm. That's the criteria. How do people act after having seen any movie, regardless of who produced it or what the script is, anything like that? There are movies that I have looked at over and over again, and I'm inspired by them. I mean, it depends on how the movie is crafted. Inspired to do what? Inspired to do something constructive. Inspired to think constructively. And this goes way back when I first started going to movies, etc., and reading books. I will look up from the book, and I'll feel buoyant. I'll feel like, now, I feel like really doing something that matters. I have a feeling that I didn't have before I read the book or looked at the movie. There are certain scenes in movies, it might not be the whole movie, that will inspire me to think a certain way and do certain things a certain way. I mean, there are particular scenes and whatnot you can pick out in books, in movies, in TV presentations, and then there are movies that I practically disdain because I come away with a sinking feeling like, boy, I mean, I feel awful after having looked at all that.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I can sense it, and I'm not inspired to do anything that makes sense. So therefore, I avoid looking at those because that is the reaction I'm going to get.
Okay. So
even knowing what the movie is like and probably haven't seen it before.
Okay.
When I see it again, I don't feel like doing anything that makes sense.
Okay.
That is constructive.